On tonight's show, which country is the United States trying to coup now? I bet it's not the one you're thinking. Well, I mean, it's probably that one too, but it's also another one. And I'm about to tell you about it in just a second. If you just let me get done with the intro real quick. I'll be right back with you. Also, why have so many progressive independent media hosts pulled right wing? I have the answer, and it's totally not because they're grifters. I mean, they're also grifters, but that's not the point I want to make. Man, this intro has sucked. Just play the music, Gary.
What about the guest?
Oh, God, yeah, Abby Martin's here also. God, this is the worst intro I think I've ever done. I just play that. Jesus. Welcome to Unredacted Tonight. I'm Lee Camp. We all know the U.S. empire coos more than a horny dove. Every waking moment, they're either cooing, preparing to coup, or thinking about cooing dozens of countries. Often the list is so long that even those of us who care, not a large number, ignore half of them. So let's talk about an important one that gets less coverage than Lisa Monabal's angina. I said angina, her heart condition. Jesus. There's a young revolutionary leader named Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, and somebody, or maybe a lot of people, seem to have it out for him. He barely survived a foreign orchestrated coup 2 months ago. The plotters, he said, were based in Ivory Coast, a Washington-based neighborhood where American military presence has recently expanded. It wasn't us. There's other people living in that neighborhood. Maybe it was the chicken farmer next door who planned the assassination attempt. Ibrahim Traoré took power in a military coup in September 2022, and the U.S. establishment is definitely laying the groundwork for removing him. Recently, General Michael Langley, commander of U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, spoke before the Senate. Despite its name, AFRICOM brings zero calm to Africa. Should be called No! Langley accused Traoré of corruption while connecting it to Russia and China. He criticized evil China and dastardly Russia while also going after an anti-imperialist African leader. We love killing two birds with one stone, which I've never understood, because if you're one of those two birds and the stone's coming at you, don't you pull the other guy in front of you at the last second? I mean, come on. Anyway, here's the commander of the U.S. imperial effort to further the destruction of Africa being questioned by Congress.
I can imagine a situation, though, in which the ruling elite of a country is receiving gratuities on the side that inure to the benefit of the strongman leader, and not to the populace of the country. Does that sort of corruption and bribery go on with regard to the Belt and Road?
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traoré and Burkina Faso, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
Oh, really? Senator Wicker, can you imagine a situation where a country's ruling elite are corrupt? Can you imagine that because you're sitting neck deep in a country like that? A country where every president in recent history enriches themselves, like Obama doing a single $400,000 speech for Goldman Sachs. And that doesn't seem much different for Congress people who do more insider trading than an organ transplant doctor. Hit pause if you need a second to get that one, because it's worth it. But no, Senator Wicker and Captain America there will ignore the breathtaking hypocrisy of their comments because that's what they're paid to do. They are lying shills. They suck ass. So let's talk about what General Langley, yes, he's somehow named after the headquarters of the CIA. Let's talk about what he says. All the gold is going to the ruling elite of Burkina Faso. Well, we have to assume that anything the commander of AFRICOM says about Africa is childlike lies. There is exactly zero track record of the Pentagon being honest about other countries, let alone our own country. They literally can't account for trillions of dollars at the Pentagon, but I'm sure they know where every dollar goes in Burkina Faso. But here's the true part. of what he says. Traoré has made moves to nationalize the nation's mining industry. Burkina Faso's economy revolves around gold, with the precious metal accounting for over 80% of its exports. The country is the world's 13th largest producer of gold. This upsets the snowflakes running the U.S. empire because it means giving the profits to the people of Burkina Faso rather than to intercontinental ballistic shitheads. But even if it were true that the Traoré government were taking all the gold for their own country, who the are you to question that? You're the imperial country that has been R-wording Africa for hundreds of years. And by R-wording, I mean rubbing down. Nice little massage. There you go, Africa. Yeah, non-consensual, but still. And what's your solution? The government of Burkina Faso is keeping the gold from Burkina Faso, so the U.S. Army or the CIA need to go into Burkina Faso, destroy their government, put in a brand new puppet, one with a wide butt for many hands, and ensure that gold gets to rich white countries who want it? I think that might be called stealing and shitty and sociopathic. But you should know a lot about that because in high school, you were voted most likely to stealing shitty sociopath your way to success. I'm sure the Parksville Cougars are proud of you, General. But Senator Wicker wasn't done spraying crocodile tears. Sorry, croco-shit tears.
You can't imagine how frustrating it seems to me that this mineral-rich continent has not been able to move to a utilization of the resources to benefit the people.
Oh, is it frustrating? Do you lose sleep over it, Roger Wicker? Are you worried about the people of Africa you have never helped in any way? And where, pray tell, have those resources gone? Oh, they've been stolen by the Western world for hundreds of years. People have written whole articles and books about it. Have you read a book, Senator? Here's an article from Nick Dearden, the director of the organization Global Justice Now. Africa is not poor. We are stealing its wealth. If you need help understanding that title, Senator Wicker, I can come over to your house and diagram it on your stupid forehead. If you need a little help understanding the broader history, turn to any of your colleagues there in Congress who happen to have darker skin than yours, even the general you're speaking to. Ask them about their ancestors and how they ended up in the United States. Oh, their ancestors were stolen from Africa like property? I wonder if your ancestors back then were frustrated that the people of Africa couldn't be given back to the people of Africa. I think I have a guess as to why you're whining about Burkina Faso as if they stole your boyfriend, even though the U.S. ruling elite genuinely care about the human beings of any country that isn't the United States. Exactly zero. Here's why. Traoré has been systematically limiting the influence of Western powers in his country, calling it a matter of national sovereignty. He expelled the French ambassador and the French troops that had long been present in their former imperial colony, and the U.S. jackboots know full well that standing up and fighting back against imperialism can be more contagious than HPV at the CPAC after-hours party hosted by Roger Stone. Traoré's actions helped spark a wave of other West African nations formerly part of the French Empire to do the same. Today, Mali, Chad, Senegal, Niger, and Ivory Coast have expelled French forces from their lands. President Emmanuel Macron responded by accusing Burkina Faso and others of ingratitude, adding that these nations forgot to thank France. Oh, did they forget to thank France? Yes, much like an abused spouse forgetting to thank her husband for when he stopped hitting her because it was her birthday. How dare Burkina Faso not thank their and pillagers for all the good work they've done for them? Macron is a shit-stained sociopath like all of the ruling elite. I don't care if he wears a bow tie sometimes. If you care to have deeper thoughts than Senator Bootlicker here, you might wonder why so many African nations have past connections to Western countries like Belgium, Britain, Germany, France, the Netherlands, and the US. In some cases, still using the currency of those countries. Well, it goes back to the 1885 Berlin Conference. Okay, it goes back way before that, but at the 1885 conference, it was made clearer than Tilda Swinton's skin. At the Berlin Conference, the imperial nations who shared many commonalities, all white, got together, literally put a map of Africa on the wall, and then made up nations to hand out to each other like Halloween candy. It was an orgy of pillaging and white supremacy. The national borders they drew up had little to no connection to the actual people, the tribes, the history of the land. The new borders cut tribes down the middle or even villages while clumping together other people who were at war with each other. It was like the show Big Brother, except with a continent. Much of Africa is still trying to deal with the fallout of this utterly psychopathic white supremacist lunacy. And then there's also the fact that they gave these new nations away to white imperial countries to extract the resources as they saw fit. Yet for some reason, France has never said thank you to Burkina Faso. Come on, Macron, would you like to thank them for all the gold they gave you and your fellow asshats for hundreds of years? No? How rude. Back to Traoré. He also kicked out many Western government-backed media outlets and organizations, calling them agents of neocolonialism, which is not, it's totally true. Yeah, it's totally true. But the French are not done yet. Although formerly independent for over half a century, France maintained significant control over its former African colonies. 14 nations use the CFA franc, an international currency set at a fixed rate against the French franc and now the euro. This makes doing business with France far more economically beneficial for Burkina Faso than any other countries. Currency is a form of control. It causes countries and people to do things against their own long-term interests, like blowing past all climate crisis boundaries because we need to keep oil flowing in order to keep the petrodollar strong. Oh, shit. I said it. Gary bet me I couldn't go the full show without saying petrodollar. I made it 8 minutes.
Told you.
You know what? I don't need it. I don't need it right now. Traoré has announced his plan to leave the CFA franc and start a new currency. We know what happens to African and Middle Eastern leaders who say they're leaving a Western currency. Libya, Iraq, Syria, Venezuela. You know what? Maybe keep it on the DL, Traoré. Just start using seashells as currency under the table or something. But the number one time the U.S. and other Western nations seek to destroy another country is when the leader is both keeping their resources for their own people and uniting with other countries. Whatever you do, don't unite with other. Oh, God, he's gonna do it. No! Along with Mali and Niger, Traoré established the Alliance of Sahel States, a pan-African union of states that sees itself as the first step towards a unified anti-imperialist Africa. Oh, shit. Here we go. The psychopaths are going to come out of the woodwork. Let me guess. Tomorrow we'll hear Traoré used chemical weapons against his own people. These playbooks are just so tired. Can't we get a new script? Not because I don't want U.S.-backed coups destroying innocent people's lives. I love that part. Just because I'm bored. Give us something new. Traoré has been telling others in Africa to follow his lead. He said, why does resource-rich Africa remain the poorest region of the world? The heads of African states should not behave like puppets in the hands of the imperialists. But, as Alan MacLeod reminds us, many African leaders have come to power promising radical change, but have failed to deliver. Then again, failed to deliver is a broad term. Most of those African leaders were couped, assassinated, blackmailed, extorted, threatened, given wedgies, sometimes all at the same time, often with the help of the United States. But U.S. power is waning. Here's the good news. We can't suicide people the way that we did back in the good old days. I mean, we totally still can, and we do. Epstein. But it's not as easy because people make a hashtag and then everyone's talking about it. It's a real bummer. And then you have to pretend that the guy shot himself in the back of the head twice with nothing but a paper t-shirt. It just gets weird. So I've been wondering over the past few years why so many left-wing or left-ish online personalities have turned right-wing or right-ish. People like Joe Rogan. Rogan used to have guests on like Peter Joseph, Bernie Sanders, this guy, Tulsi Gabbard before she became Repulsi Gabbard. Side note, I'm so excited for the next Marvel movie, which is Tulsi Gabbard versus Repulsi Gabbard in the metaverse. Oh, so good. And now Rogan almost exclusively has on right-wingers, MMA fighters, and people saying we should believe ancient aliens secretly invented everything indigenous people actually invented, because apparently ancient indigenous people were stupider than Sarah Palin after enjoying a taster's flight of Mike's Hard Lemonade. We literally now have the ability to dissect a fossilized turd from 1 million years ago and find out what ancient humans were eating the day they died. But apparently the ancient aliens never left so much as a toenail clipping behind. Really? Nothing? Not a dingleberry? Nothing? Yeah, that's one hell of a house guest. Anyway, I was wondering why several of these popular independent media hosts made this startling shift to the right, from somewhat progressive to anti-progressive, from somewhat awake to reality to completely comatose. And now the people I speak of are more likely to invite Steve Bannon or Jabba the Hutt on their show than they are to invite Jill Stein or Claudia de la Cruz or anyone who knows the word colonizer. Just asking for a friend, when you interview Steve Bannon, do you have to request he keep the Sig Heiling kind of like under the table, you know? Do you tie down his hands? How does that work? Anyway, I read something that seems to sum up the answer to my question. A recent Intercept article talked about how the Democrats are spending $20 million to try to create the liberal Joe Rogan, which is idiotic on about 12 different levels, but I'm too exhausted by the Democrats' dumb shittery to go through more than two. So here are two. Number one, liberalism leads to fascism. As we've seen over the past 20 years, it has opened the door for everything Trump and gang are doing. It has allowed people to think they're good and peace-loving while supporting war and death. It has encouraged people to think they care about justice and equality while supporting a disgustingly unequal racist system that destroys countless lives. I have a Black Lives Matter sign in my yard while I support the largest prison state in the world. I'm like Nelson Mandela. In many cases, the liberals did all the same horrible shit before Trump even got in there. He just does it more in your face. So if you hate Trump, but you never questioned Obama while we were at war in 7 countries, then you're also the problem. Number two, countless liberal and leftist, different things, creators already exist. For those of us who are actually left-wing, like this guy, the liberal establishment does everything they can to destroy us. I'm more suppressed than Nazi porn, because true leftism is where monsters dwell. For the creators who are actually liberal, they excite very few people because they're the exact same shit you'd get on CNN or MSNBC or PBS or NBC or ABC or CBS or BBC or all of the letters. So why turn to a guy with 1/1000th the production budget? Who wants to turn on Anderson Cooper sitting in his apartment? Just turn on your standard, stupid, corporate captured, soggy tripe. It's right there, 24/7. Anytime you want it. They're working harder than Tom Cruise works to appear likable. Honestly, if you're still watching one of those corporate cable news channels on a regular basis, I've got something better for you. It's a channel that you can turn on every second of every day, and it's just a guy yelling, "Status quo! Don't doubt the status quo!" That's it. You'll learn as much as you do on CNN. Maybe more. But that's not actually the point I wanted to get to. Within the Intercept's article, they mention, in an analysis of 320 of the most popular online shows across platforms such as YouTube, Rumble, and TikTok, Media Matters found that right-leaning shows were significantly more popular, accounting for roughly 82% of the total following of online shows analyzed. It also found that 9 out of 10 of the most followed online shows were right-leaning. This is why so many left-ish creators who gained some popularity prior to 2020 have slowly but clearly pulled right-wing. If you are a grifter, that's the way to be. So listen up, wannabe grifters. Learn from those brave trailblazers before you. don't have core beliefs. Core beliefs are for losers and people who chain themselves to chicken cages and protest. Instead of that garbage, aim for the portion of the pie that has 82% of the entire pie. If you actually want to speak out for the abused, the disadvantaged, the struggling, the exploited, the hungry, the homeless, then you only have 18% of the pie to even get a shot at. But if you stand up for the rich, the powerful, the racist, the downright wrong, the people already winning at the rigged game of capitalism, then your potential audience is massive. This is honestly Grifter 101. Your core beliefs are simply follow the money. Horse blinders, follow the money. Truth is meaningless if it doesn't make money, okay? By the way, if you do enroll in that Grifter 101, beware. That class will take your $1,300 and never teach you shit. I thought I could trust them, but no. Speaking of brave, independent media creators who actually have core values and fight for the oppressed, earlier today I spoke to the host of the Empire Files and the filmmaker behind Gaza Fights for Freedom, my friend Abby Martin. Here's a bit of that interview. I recently did a segment detailing all the signs that Israel is collapsing. You know, I'll just give a few examples. A large percentage of IDF reserves are not showing up. Near 100,000 businesses have gone bankrupt in Israel since October 7th. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis have left the country for other countries they have dual citizenship with. There seems to be a growing trend of harshly criticizing Israel, even from countries and media outlets who have been supporting this genocide like throughout the thing. It feels like also that the old trope of calling any criticism of the brutal apartheid state anti-Semitism, like that just seems played out, not really holding water with people anymore. Do you feel there's any hope that things are getting bad for Israel, that there could be large-scale genocide?
Oh, it's over. I mean,
Yeah.
It's totally over. I mean, the sad thing about it is that they will continue. I mean, they will never have that sort of political capital again that they had on October 7th. So they have to go full genocidal, and they can't stop because they know this is their only chance to complete the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and to recolonize Gaza. So they are going for it. And it just happened to be that the most virulent, ardent Zionist in US politics just happened to be president at the time. So that was a really up situation that gave Israel this green light to do what they did. But I will say that Israel will never be looked at the same again. Even before October 7th, already you had these premier, liberal, revered human rights organizations like Amnesty International. You even had Bet Salem, the Israeli human rights organization, declaring that Israel is an apartheid state. That's already a crime against humanity. You can't have a Jim Crow style governing, government that has second-class citizens living there under a military dictatorship. So, there's proper apartheid within 48, but there's also obviously the military dictatorship, which is illegal. And so all of these things, I mean, were already realized as a crime against humanity, and that has to be dealt with. As an international community, you can't just let an apartheid state exist. That's a crime. And then, of course, as they start to commit genocide, all of those groups eventually got on board with that declaration as well. You have the ICJ ruling, the ICC Criminal Court Directive, all of these things compounded, as well as dozens of even Israeli historians, genocide scholars. It's so crystal clear that Israel's an apartheid state committing genocide. We've seen polling reflect this as well all across America. I mean, I'll just look at America because obviously we're empire babies. We're the reason that this is happening. And American Jews, I mean, Democrats, all of these views have shifted dramatically. They flipped upside down the sympathy for Hamas. I mean, some of these polling, the language of these polling is actually really interesting because it's not just support for Palestine. It's literally saying, do you support Hamas more than Israel? And you should see the numbers. The results are pretty dramatic of people saying, yeah, I don't support Israel. I mean, young Jews, especially, who are not going to be hoodwinked by this birthright canard to normalize this occupation. That's not going to be a thing anymore. All of it's gone out the window, Lee. And so what you've seen now is humanity, the lack of humanity and the strength of humanity laid bare. So you see the people who are coalescing the international solidarity activists who are realizing all of these struggles are connected: immigration, ICE raids, police brutality, the Gaza genocide, our foreign policy, Yemen, all these things are linked. And then you have the people who are actually gleeful fascists, who are unapologetically Zionist, who actually agree with this. And I'm actually happy that all of those people have been revealed, because liberal Zionism, this absurd idea of progressive except for Palestine, it was always a farce. It always was untrue, but it was used as a ploy to try to prey on good, well-intentioned anti-racists, anti-bigots who care about the plight of Jewish people worldwide. So this is no longer going to be a thing to manipulate us and to put us on the defense. People who care about human rights are no longer going to be put on the defense to say, this is why it's okay to criticize a horrific, rogue, apartheid, genocidal state. No, the genocidal maniacs and the Zionists who defend this will no longer be welcomed into progressive spaces, and they need to excuse and apologize for their racism and bigotry. That's going to be the reality from now on. And instead of waiting on politicians to enact international law and sanction Israel, the academic and cultural boycott is a necessity, because we see polling. Clearly, Israeli society has gone full bore genocidal maniacs, dude. 50% want to kill all Palestinians in Gaza. 80% want to ethnically cleanse them all. That's a society too far gone. That means that we need to step up the cultural and academic boycott. And that means everything that you do, everything that you say. Why would Israel be employing millions of trolls online, AI bots, to try to correct the record if that didn't matter? So don't ever think that any act, as small as it may be, does not make a dent. Keep going, keep fighting, and keep changing the narrative, because they are on the losing ground forever. And we have to keep going. We have to keep building the momentum until apartheid falls and we get equal rights for all.
That's just a piece of my 25-minute interview with Abby Martin. To watch it all, join up at patreon.com/Lee Camp or my locals page at leecamp.net. Plus, you'll be supporting this show. And now, here are your headlines from the future. Coming up in 6 months, we'll find out Bitcoin somehow puts out statement that it will still be here long after humans are gone, and it will be worth a shit ton. You go, Bitcoin. And in 3 weeks, we'll learn Israel proudly touts new poll showing they're the world's third favorite genocidal apartheid nation. They're my first favorite. And in just 2 days, you'll find out Elon Musk takes 2 months off to quietly sit on a beach and process his lost friendship with Donald Trump. That's the show, but I have a huge announcement. Unredacted Tonight is now joining Means TV streaming service. Means TV, if you haven't heard of it, it's like Netflix if you watch stuff that actually matters and is awesome and important. It's an anti-capitalist, badass, worker-owned site with excellent content. So here's how you can support my show, but also support all the other creators at Means TV, and you can check it out for free. Go to means.tv and click on join to start the free trial. Then when checking out, use the promo code LEE in all caps, LEE in all caps. That will get you 20% off if you do decide to join after the trial. They have people like Richard Wolff, Abby Martin, Second Thought, and now Unredacted Tonight. The site again is means.tv. And don't worry, Unredacted Tonight will still be free every week right here on YouTube or Rumble. Until next time, the revolution will have laughter. Keep fighting.